The retirement party was held at the dealership. Anderson Auto Group, the Toyota and Honda franchise my father had owned for 32 years. 200 people packed the showroom floor, standing among the vehicles that represented Dad's life's work. Salespeople, mechanics, customers, family, friends. All there to celebrate Robert Anderson's legacy. I stood near a display of new Camrys, holding a beer I wasn't drinking, watching my father bask in the attention. He looked good for 65. Still fit, still commanding presence, still the kind of guy who could sell ice to an Eskimo, as he loved to say. My brother Carson stood next to Dad, 35 years old, general manager of the dealership, groomed for years to take over. He wore a suit that cost $3,000 and an expression of practiced humility. The heir apparent. The golden child. I was 32, 3 years younger than Carson. I worked in quantitative finance, developing algorithmic trading systems for hedge funds. My current contract paid $480,000 annually, plus performance bonuses that typically added another $200,000. Last year I'd made $830,000. My family thought I worked with computers, and probably made decent money. Maybe 6 figures. Nothing compared to the dealership, which grossed $23 million annually. Speech time, someone called. Dad stepped up to the microphone they'd set up near the service department entrance. The crowd quieted. 32 years ago I bought a failing Toyota dealership with everything I had, Dad began. His voice was strong, practiced. He'd told this story 1,000 times. Everyone said I was crazy. 29 years old, no experience, taking on massive debt. But I had a vision. The crowd murmured appreciatively. I built this place from 8 employees to 63. From selling 100 cars a year to 1,500. From barely breaking even to being one of the top-performing dealerships in the region. He paused for effect. But I didn't do it alone. He gestured to Carson. My son Carson has been working here since he was 16. Started washing cars. Worked his way up through every department. Sales, finance, service. He earned his position. He earned the right to take over this legacy. Applause. Carson nodded humbly. That's what success looks like. Hard work. Dedication. Earning your place. Dad's eyes swept the room and landed on me. Not everyone understands that. Some people think success means sitting behind a computer screen, doing whatever it is they do. Not building anything real. Not creating jobs. Not earning anything. A few uncomfortable laughs. My younger son Quinn, he's here tonight. Dad raised his beer toward me. Quinn does something with computers. Makes what I'm sure is decent money. But here's the difference. Carson earned everything he has. Worked for it. Built it. While Quinn never earned anything in his life. Not like his brother who actually works. The room went silent. People were staring at me. Some sympathetic. Some curious. Some clearly agreeing with Dad. Carson looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I took a sip of beer. Smiled politely. Okay. That was all I said. Dad continued his speech, talking about legacy and family and the importance of hard work. I stopped listening. After the speech, people approached me with pitying looks. Your dad's just old school, someone said. Doesn't understand tech jobs. I'm sure you work very hard, someone else offered. I nodded. Smiled. Said nothing. At 8 o'clock I left. Nobody noticed except my mom, who caught my arm by the door. Quinn, don't take what your father said personally. He's emotional about retiring. I'm not taking it personally. He's proud of you. He just doesn't understand what you do. I know, Mom. Carson's done a wonderful job with the dealership, though. Your father's right about that. Carson really has earned his position. I'm sure he has. Good night, Mom. I drove home to my downtown condo, the one I'd bought with cash 3 years ago for $680,000. Parked in my designated spot. Rode the elevator to the 18th floor. My apartment was minimalist. Expensive furniture but sparse, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, 3 monitors on a standing desk where I developed trading algorithms. This was where I worked. Where I'd built a career my family neither understood nor respected. I poured a scotch and opened my laptop. Pulled up a file labeled Anderson Auto Group, Investment Documentation. 7 years ago the dealership had been in trouble. The 2008 financial crisis had destroyed auto sales. Dad had expanded aggressively before the crash, taking on debt to add the Honda franchise to the existing Toyota dealership. When sales plummeted, he'd been over-leveraged and desperate. He'd needed capital infusion. Fast. $4.8 million to restructure debt, avoid bankruptcy and keep the business running. Banks wouldn't touch him. The economy was imploding. Auto dealerships were failing nationwide. I'd been 25 working for a hedge fund making my first serious money. I'd also made some very good investments in the market crash, buying when everyone was selling, positions that had appreciated significantly. I had $5.2 million in liquid assets. Dad had sat me down at this very dealership in his office and explained the situation. I'm going to lose everything, he'd said. 30 years of work gone. Unless I can find capital. How much do you need? $4.8 million. Immediately. I'd written the check. Not as a gift. As an investment. Through my attorney, I'd structured it as a minority equity stake. 40% ownership of Anderson Auto Group in exchange for $4.8 million capital infusion. Dad had been so grateful. You're saving my life, Quinn. I'll pay you back. I promise. You don't have to pay me back. It's an investment. Just make the business successful again. He had. Within 3 years the dealership was thriving. Auto sales recovered. Dad's aggressive expansion before the crash, which had almost destroyed him, positioned him perfectly for the recovery. He captured market share while competitors struggled. The dealership was now worth approximately $12 million. My 40% stake was worth about $4.8 million. I'd gotten my money back in equity appreciation. Plus, I'd been receiving distributions as a minority owner. About $140,000 annually for 7 years. Another $980,000 in returns. Total, $5.78 million on my $4.8 million investment. Not bad. But here was the thing. Dad had never told anyone about my investment. Not Carson. Not Mom. Not the dealership employees. Nobody. When people asked how he'd saved the business during the crisis, he said he'd restructured smartly and found private investors. Plural. Vague. He'd never acknowledged that his computer-working son had single-handedly saved his legacy. Carson thought he was inheriting 100% of a family business Dad had built alone. In reality, he was inheriting 60% of a business I owned 40% of. I pulled up my attorney's contact. Jennifer Walsh, who'd structured the original investment and handled all the legal aspects. I typed an email. Jennifer, please initiate immediate liquidation of my equity stake in Anderson Auto Group. I want complete exit. Sell my 40% stake back to the company or to Carson Anderson, at current fair market value of $4.8 million. If they can't/won't buy me out, we explore third-party sale of my stake. I want this moving by Monday morning. Quinn. I stared at the email for a long moment. $4.8 million. 7 years of being a silent investor. 7 years of watching Dad take credit for saving himself. 7 years of being called the son who doesn't work while owning 40% of his company. I hit send. Then I finished my scotch and went to bed. Monday morning at 9:47 a.m. Jennifer called. Quinn, I sent the liquidation notice to the dealership's accountant first thing this morning as legally required. I also sent copies to your father and Carson. What was the reaction? The accountant called me within 20 minutes. She sounded panicked. Said she needs to discuss this with the ownership immediately. She asked for a 30-day extension to arrange financing. Tell her no. Standard buyout terms apply. They have 90 days to arrange purchase of my stake at fair market value, or I can pursue third-party sale. Quinn, selling to a third party would be complicated. Your operating agreement gives the company right of first refusal, but if they can't buy you out, an outside investor owning 40% of a family dealership could create real problems. That's not my concern. I want out. All right. I'll inform them. But Quinn, this will get ugly. Your father's retirement party was Friday. Today's Monday. The timing looks intentional. It is intentional. Want to tell me what happened? He told 200 people I never earned anything in my life. While running a company I own 40% of and literally saved from bankruptcy. Jennifer was quiet. Okay then. Let's burn it down. By noon my phone was ringing. I let it go to voicemail. Quinn, I just got a very confusing notice from the dealership accountant. Something about you owning equity and liquidating? Call me immediately. This doesn't make sense. He called again at 1:15 p.m. Then 2:30. Then 4 o'clock. At 5:45 Carson called. I answered out of curiosity. Quinn, what the hell is going on? Hi Carson. How's the dealership? Quinn, the accountant just told me you own 40% of the company. Is that true? Yes. Since when? Since 2009. 7 years. That's impossible. Dad would have told me. I'm the general manager. I'm taking over the business. You're taking over 60% of the business. I own the other 40%. This is insane. Why would you own 40%? Because in 2009 the dealership was bankrupt. Dad needed $4.8 million immediately or he lost everything. I gave him the money in exchange for equity. Carson was breathing heavily. Dad said he restructured with some investors. He restructured with one investor. Me. He just never told you. Why not? Ask him. But my guess. Because acknowledging that his computer-working son saved his legacy would contradict the narrative he's built where I don't earn anything and you earned everything. Quinn, this is going to destroy the transition. I'm supposed to take over next month. How am I supposed to run a company where my brother owns 40%? You're not. I'm selling my stake. To who? To you preferably. Fair market value is $4.8 million. You've got 90 days to arrange financing. I don't have $4.8 million. Then you should probably find it. Or find a buyer who does. Because I'm done being a silent partner in a company where the owner tells everyone I never earned anything. Dad didn't mean. He did. And you stood there and said nothing. So now you both get to figure out how to run a dealership when your largest investor is pulling out. I hung up. Tuesday morning Jennifer called. Your father's attorney contacted me. They're requesting a meeting. All parties. Tomorrow 2 p.m. at the dealership. Tell them no. All communication goes through you. Quinn, they're going to fight this. Your operating agreement requires good faith negotiation before liquidation. I'm being perfectly good faith. I want out. They can buy me out. That's good faith. They're claiming your timing is punitive. That you're retaliating for a comment at a party. I'm exercising my legal rights as an investor. When I do it is my choice. They might argue constructive deadlock. That your exit is designed to harm the business. My exit is designed to exit. If it harms the business, that's because the business can't survive without my investment. Which proves my point about earning things, doesn't it? Jennifer laughed. Fair enough. I'll tell them we're proceeding with liquidation under the original operating agreement terms. Wednesday morning, Dad showed up at my building. Security called. Mr. Anderson, your father is in the lobby. Should we send him up? No. Tell him I'm working. He's quite insistent. He says it's an emergency. It's not my emergency. 10 minutes later my phone rang from an unknown number. Quinn. Dad's voice. I'm in your lobby. Come down here and talk to me like a man. I'm working. You're destroying my legacy. No, I'm liquidating my investment. There's a difference. Over something I said at a party? You're going to destroy 32 years of work because your feelings got hurt. I'm not destroying anything. I'm simply no longer partnering with someone who thinks I never earned anything. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I was talking about, Carson's worked at the dealership his whole life. You've never worked here. That's all I meant. You said I never earned anything in my life. Not, never worked at the dealership. Never earned anything. Period. In front of 200 people. It came out wrong. I was nervous, emotional about retiring. And honest. You were honest. You really think I never earned anything. That Carson earned his position and I've just coasted. That's not, Dad. Carson's inheriting a company that I saved. With money I earned. While you told everyone I don't earn anything. Do you see the irony? Silence. Come down here. Let's talk face to face. No. Talk to my attorney. You've got 90 days to buy me out. I don't have $4.8 million in liquid cash. Then sell assets. Take a loan. Figure it out. You're a successful businessman who earned everything through hard work, right? This should be easy. Quinn. I hung up and blocked the number. Over the next week, the situation escalated. My phone exploded with calls from family members who'd been filled in on the situation. Mom, how can you do this to your father? After everything he's done for you. Uncle Mike, you're being vindictive and petty. Family doesn't sue family. Aunt Teresa, I heard about the party comment. Your father apologized. Let it go. Carson called daily, alternating between anger and desperation. The bank won't give me a loan for $4.8 million. Not on short notice. Not without using the dealership as collateral, which defeats the purpose. That sounds like a problem. It's your problem too. If we can't buy you out and you sell to a third party, you'll destroy the business. Then buy me out. With what money? I had the money when I was 25. You're 35. Figure it out. 2 weeks after I initiated liquidation, Jennifer called with an update. They've made an offer. $3.2 million for your 40% stake. Payable over 5 years. No. Quinn, that's a 40% discount from fair value. Which is insulting. Fair value is $4.8 million. Gosh. That's the deal. They're claiming the business can't support a $4.8 million buyout. That it would cripple operations. The business has been paying me distributions of $140,000 annually. For 7 years. It can support buying out my stake. They're also arguing that your investment has already been returned through distributions. That you've made $980,000 in distributions on a $4.8 million investment, so asking for the full principal back is double dipping. That's not how equity works. Distributions are returns on investment. Equity sale is return of principal. Basic finance. If they don't understand that, they shouldn't be running a dealership. What do you want me to tell them? $4.8 million. 90-day deadline. No negotiation. This is going to destroy your relationship with your family. My family destroyed that relationship when they spent 7 years taking my investment for granted while telling me I don't earn anything. 3 weeks in, a third party contacted Jennifer. A regional auto group that owned dealerships in 4 states. They were interested in acquiring Anderson Auto Group. Specifically interested in my 40% stake as a foothold. They're offering $5.2 million for your stake, Jennifer said. 20% premium over fair value. But there's a catch. What catch? If they buy your 40%, they're going to push for majority control. They'll offer Carson a buyout of his 60% at a fair price, but they want the whole dealership. Your exit becomes a hostile acquisition. Is that legal? Completely. Your operating agreement allows third-party sale if the company can't buy you out. Once they own 40%, they can pressure Carson to sell the rest. What happens if Carson refuses? They become your new partners. 40-60 split. But they're a corporate entity with deep pockets and operational expertise. They'll make life difficult until Carson sells. I thought about it. Dad's legacy bought out by a corporate group. The Anderson family name removed from Anderson Auto Group. Everything Dad built gone. Because he told 200 people I never earned anything. Tell them I'm interested, I said. But give my family the full 90 days to match the offer. Quinn, are you sure? This will end your father's legacy. My father ended his legacy when he forgot where his capital came from. When news leaked that a corporate buyer was interested, the family panic reached new levels. Dad showed up at my office building. My actual workplace, not my home. Security called again. There's a Robert Anderson here for Quinn Anderson. He doesn't have an appointment. Tell him I'm in a meeting. He says he'll wait. Tell him to leave or I'll have him removed for trespassing. Security hesitated. Sir, he's crying in the lobby. People are staring. I closed my eyes. Fine. 5 minutes. Conference room B. I went down to the conference room. Dad sat at the table looking older than I'd ever seen him. His face was red and blotchy. His hands were shaking. Thank you for seeing me, he said. I sat across from him and said nothing. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. For what I said at the party. For every time I dismissed your work. For never telling anyone what you did for the dealership. For everything. Okay. Please don't sell to the corporate group. They'll destroy everything I built. They'll fire half the staff. They'll turn it into another soulless franchise in their portfolio. Everything I worked for gone. You should have thought about that before telling 200 people I never earned anything. I know. I was wrong. I was completely, utterly wrong. He was crying now. You saved my business. You saved my legacy. And I've never properly thanked you. I've never acknowledged it. I've spent 7 years taking credit for surviving a crisis I couldn't have survived without you. Why? Why what? Why didn't you tell anyone? Why did you hide my investment? He looked at his hands. Because I was ashamed. Of what? Of needing my younger son to save me. Of the son I'd dismissed as just working with computers being the one with the capital I needed. Of Carson, the son I'd groomed to take over, not being able to help because he didn't have that kind of money. He wiped his eyes. It was easier to lie. To pretend I'd fixed everything myself. To maintain the narrative where I was the successful father and you were the kid who did computer stuff. And now I'm losing everything because I couldn't admit the truth. Because my pride was more important than your dignity. We sat in silence. Please, Quinn. Tell me what I can do to fix this. You can't fix it. Some things once broken stay broken. There has to be something. Name your price. What do you want? I looked at him directly. I want you to stand in front of the same 200 people from your retirement party and tell them the truth. That in 2009 I gave you $4.8 million to save your business. That I've owned 40% of your company for 7 years. That every bit of your recovery and success was built on capital I provided. That the son who never earned anything is the reason you had anything to retire from. Dad's face went pale. You want me to humiliate myself? No. I want you to tell the truth. There's a difference. Though I understand why you'd confuse the two. If I do that, if I admit I needed your money that I couldn't save the business myself, it destroys my reputation. Everything people think about me. Yes, it does. Just like what you said destroyed what people think about me. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? You built a reputation on my money while tearing down my reputation with your words. I'm asking you to correct that. Publicly. Completely. Honestly. He stood up. I can't do that. Then we're done here. Enjoy retirement while the corporate group dismantles your legacy. Quinn. 5 minutes are up. Leave or I'm calling security. He left, shoulders slumped, moving like a broken man. I went back to my office and called Jennifer. Accept the corporate group's offer. $5.2 million for my 40% stake. Let's close this. Quinn, are you certain? Completely. This will destroy your relationship with your family. Permanently. They destroyed it first. I'm just finishing the job. The sale documents were drawn up. The corporate group, Apex Auto Holdings, was prepared to wire $5.2 million for my stake. Closing date. 67 days after I'd initiated liquidation. Well within the 90-day window. 3 days before closing, Carson showed up at my condo. Building security called. Your brother's here. He says it's urgent. Send him up. Carson looked terrible when he walked in. Unshaven, eyes bloodshot, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt instead of his usual suit. I have an offer, he said without preamble. I'm listening. $4.8 million. Kish. I'll buy your stake. Where'd you get $4.8 million? I mortgaged my house. Took loans against my life insurance. Borrowed from Mom's retirement account. Got a personal loan from Uncle Mike. Cleaned out my savings. He pulled out a cashier's check. It's all here. Fair value. Exactly what you asked for. I looked at the check. It was real. Why now? I asked. You've had 2 months. Because I've spent 2 months understanding what you did. How much you saved. How much you've contributed while we ignored you. He sat on my couch, exhausted. Dad told me everything. The whole story. How desperate he was in 2009. How you wrote a check to save him. How he's hidden it for 7 years because of pride. And I've been a shit brother. I've let Dad put me on a pedestal while you were invisible. I've benefited from your investment while believing I earned everything myself. I was wrong. Yes, you were. I'm sorry, truly. And I'm asking, not as someone who thinks he deserves your help, but as someone who finally understands how much you've already helped. Please sell to me instead of Apex. Let me keep the dealership in the family. Let me honor what Dad built and what you saved. Why should I? Because despite everything, we're brothers. Because 63 people will keep their jobs if you sell to me instead of Apex. Because Dad's legacy, which is your legacy too whether he acknowledged it or not, deserves to continue. Click the check. Looked at the amount. $4,800,000. Fair value. Exactly what I'd asked for. If I take this, things are different, I said. No more pretending I'm the computer guy who doesn't earn anything. No more hiding my role in the business. Complete acknowledgement. Public and permanent. I'll tell everyone. The employees, the customers, the family. Everyone. I'll make sure they know you saved this place. And Dad's working on something. I can't speak for him. But he's trying. I held the check for a long moment. Then I called Jennifer. Change of plans. Carson has the cash. Prepare sale documents. I'm selling my stake to him at fair value. Carson's relief was visible. Thank you, Quinn. I swear I'll make this right. You'd better. The sale closed 3 days later. $4.8 million transferred to my account. My 40% stake in Anderson Auto Group, officially transferred to Carson Anderson. I was no longer an owner. No longer invested in my father's legacy. Just free. The following Saturday, Dad held another gathering at the dealership. Not as big as the retirement party. About 75 people. Staff, family, regular customers. I almost didn't go. But Carson had called personally to ask me to attend. So I went. Dad stood up to speak. He looked nervous in a way I'd never seen him nervous before. 2 months ago I had a retirement party. Some of you were there. I said some things that night I need to correct. He paused. I have 2 sons. Carson, who's worked at this dealership for 19 years, and Quinn, who works in quantitative finance. At the retirement party I said Carson earned everything and Quinn never earned anything. I need to tell you why that was not just wrong but the opposite of truth. The room was silent. In 2009 this dealership was bankrupt. The financial crisis had destroyed auto sales. I'd expanded before the crash and I was over-leveraged. I needed $4.8 million immediately or I lost everything. He looked at me directly. My son Quinn, who was 25 years old and working in finance, gave me that money. Not as a loan. As an investment. He took a 40% equity stake in this business and saved it from bankruptcy. Murmurs in the crowd. For 7 years Quinn has been a silent partner. He's owned 40% of Anderson Auto Group. Every car we sold, every dollar of profit, every employee we hired, all of it built on capital Quinn provided. And I never told anyone. I hid his investment because I was ashamed of needing my younger son to save me. Dad's voice was shaking now. 2 months ago I told people Quinn never earned anything. That was a lie. Quinn earned the money that saved my legacy. Carson earned his position through hard work at the dealership. But neither of us, would be here without Quinn's investment. He turned to me. Quinn, I'm sorry. For minimizing your success. For hiding your role in this business. For valuing my pride over your dignity. You saved everything I built and I repaid you by pretending you didn't matter. I was wrong. The room was completely silent. Last week Quinn sold his stake to Carson. He could have sold to a corporate buyer who would have dismantled everything. Instead he gave Carson the chance to keep this a family business. That's the kind of man my son is. Generous when he has every right to be vindictive. Dad walked over to where I stood. Extended his hand. Thank you, Quinn. For everything. For saving me when I couldn't save myself. For being the success I was too blind to see. I looked at his hand. Then at his face. He was crying. I shook his hand. You're welcome. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was acknowledgement. Public. Permanent. Everything I'd asked for. After the gathering, Carson pulled me aside. The dealership's doing well. Really well. I want to pay you consulting fees. For advice on the business, on investments, on strategy. $50,000 a year. Not charity. Actual work. I don't need the money. I know. But I need your expertise. And I need my brother to be part of this business, even if you don't own equity anymore. I thought about it. Hey. But Carson? If you ever tell anyone I don't earn things, we're done. Permanently. Never again. I promise. 6 months later I had dinner with Dad. Just the 2 of us at a quiet restaurant, no audience. The dealership's thriving, he said. Carson's doing an excellent job. Better than I did, honestly. I'm glad. He pays you consulting fees? He does. Is he actually using your advice or is it just charity? He's using it. Made 3 major strategic decisions based on analyses I provided. The business is performing 10% better than this time last year. Dad smiled. My sons are both successful. I just wish I'd seen it sooner. Why didn't you? He was quiet for a long time. Because Carson's success looked like mine. Visible. Traditional. Easy to understand. Your success was different. Abstract. Something I couldn't see or touch. And rather than learn to appreciate something different, I dismissed it. And now I'm learning, fully, that success comes in many forms. That the son working with algorithms and trading systems is just as successful, maybe more successful, than the son selling cars. I made $830,000 last year, I said. That's more than the dealership's annual profit. I know. Carson told me. I had no idea. You never asked. No, I didn't. He looked at me directly. Can you forgive me? Eventually. I don't know. Maybe. But Dad, it's going to take time. What you said hurt. What you hid hurt worse. I spent 7 years being invisible while making your success possible. I understand. I'll wait. However long it takes. We finished dinner talking about markets, algorithms, business strategy. Dad asked questions. Actually listened to the answers. Engaged with my world instead of dismissing it. It was a start. Not reconciliation. Not redemption. But a start. A year after the retirement party, I was featured in a finance industry publication. The Algorithm Architect. How Quinn Anderson Built a $2 million Trading System. Dad called after it published. I read the article. I didn't understand half of it, but I read it 3 times anyway. What did you think? I thought my son is brilliant. I thought I was an idiot for not seeing it sooner. I thought I wasted 7 years I could have spent being proud of you. Yeah. You did. I'm proud now. I know that doesn't make up for lost time. But I am. Thanks, Dad. One more thing. In the article you mentioned making your first serious money during the financial crisis. That's when you helped me, isn't it? You were making your fortune and you used it to save mine. Yes. That's the definition of earning something, Quinn. You earned your success. And you earned the right to walk away when I didn't appreciate it. Thank you for not walking away permanently. After we hung up, I sat in my office, looking at the city lights through floor-to-ceiling windows. My trading algorithms were running, making micro-decisions thousands of times per second, generating wealth while I slept. I'd earned this. The success. The wealth. The life I'd built. My family finally saw it. Finally acknowledged it. Finally understood that their dismissal of me had been based on ignorance, not truth. It had taken liquidating my investment in their business to teach them that lesson. But they'd learned it. And I'd learned something too, that walking away from people who don't value you isn't cruelty. It's self-preservation. And sometimes, self-preservation is the only thing that creates space for honest relationships to rebuild. My father had said I never earned anything. I'd earned everything I had, including the right to prove him wrong. And in the end, proving him wrong had been worth more than any investment return.